It's the AskJP podcast with jpmorrell. Now, let's start the show. Here's JP.
Well, this is our first in-person, on-scene podcast recording ever, and we're doing it with Dan Stein and Stein's Deli, and we are ridiculously crazy excited to be here. Not just because the sandwiches are great, because
sandwiches are great.
Sandwiches are fantastic.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
But we are here because we want to get into the mind of Dan Stein.
I don't know why.
So I'd love for us to.
So this is my second podcast, but of course it's here.
Let's not talk about the first one. We're new.
Matter.
We're new.
It's
first
here.
city government.
It's here. Like everything else I do is here. You know, people say, "Where do you live?" I'm like, I live at the Deli. I sleep a couple blocks away in the Irish Channel.
Well, give us a little bit of your background, like where you grew up, how you ended up in New Orleans.
So grew up outside of. I'm looking at that camera. Yeah. All right.
You don't have to look at
You can look at us.
I can look at you.
Yeah,
all right.
Everyone have a
Probably
Jim
less
Halpert moment.
disconcerting. I grew up in right outside Philadelphia, like a suburb of Philadelphia. I went to an all-boys prep school for 13 years.
Fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have a choice in the matter.
No, we don't.
No. And then I left after graduated there. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. Ended up transferring into, after my first year, transferring into the Wharton School. So I have a Wharton undergraduate degree, which is the same degree shared with
Donald Trump.
The Donald Trump.
What else do you have in common with Donald Trump?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I didn't take the same management classes he did.
Different management.
Yeah,
your business
how
is
to
solvent.
convert your business organization into a fascist theocracy.
You're halfway there,
Anyway,
admittedly.
But yeah, no, I did not. So then after that, I went to law school.
Okay.
I went to Temple.
Wow.
I went to Temple for law school. Never was a really great standardized test guy. So like the as far as like, you know, going to fancy schools, that all came off when I ultimately wanted to go to law school. So I went to Temple. It was local. I'd never really been out of the city. It was cheap. So I ended up doing really well there, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, even though I hated practicing law, which I did for I clerked. I liked my first job out of law school. I actually clerked for a federal judge out of law school. And then I ended up down here working for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals as a staff attorney, which is, it's cool. You're working for the Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals, but we're handling mainly prisoner cases, habeas corpus cases, a lot of the stuff. It's kind of a triage unit. We're kind of going through a lot of because being a border state, it's Texas, right, Louisiana, Mississippi. We have a lot of cases down here. We have a lot of cases stemming from the border, stemming from crimes, stemming from drugs, stemming from prisoners. So there's a lot of that cluttering up the docket. So the Fifth Circuit had a very large and active staff attorney's office, because we basically handled a lot of their cases to keep the docket manageable so they could decide the important stuff, quote important stuff.
I promise you there are people listening to this who are like, holy shit, Dan Stein was a staff attorney at the Fifth Circuit.
Yeah, I was a staff attorney. I wasn't a clerk.
No, it doesn't matter.
You were like barred and everything.
I interviewed to be a clerk. My property professor ended up clerking for Judge Wiener, who at the time was up in Shreveport, and I actually flew to Shreveport and interviewed from him. I did not get the job, but then he ended up transferring down here, and I haven't seen Jack in years, but he used to come into the Deli a couple times and stuff like that.
Judge Weimer is a character.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He is like the driest person on earth.
He's funny as hell.
Yeah.
He used to order a tongue sandwich. So you love the tongue sandwiches. But yeah, I haven't seen. God, it's probably going to be close to 6 or 8 years since I've seen him. Oh, if he's listening, which he probably is.
So how did you go from Fifth Circuit staff attorney to small business owner of this esteemed deli?
Good question. I quit staff attorney's office because I just got bored, and I went on a little trip to Europe, and I came back, and I was like, all right, I guess I got a law degree. Let me figure out what to do with it. It was right after 9/11, and the market immediately started tanking right after 9/11. So I got back from Europe, and I called my friends, all my law review friends. I was on law review too.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, all right, bring me in. Bring me in. Get me some of that money. And they're all like, no, we're not hiring, and we're actually terminating people because the market turned.
Right.
It was turning. So I ended up working for getting a job with, and I was behind too. I hadn't taken any CLE and gotten this, so I had to go do all that stuff. So I ended up getting a job in Marlton, New Jersey. I had to drive like 45 minutes from my parents' house. That's where I was staying. Right. I ended up driving over there, and he was mostly a land use lawyer. And I ended up driving over there, and I was doing work for him. And then just one day, and every weekend, I used to take off. I used to go out to breakfast at this one little breakfast place. I used to go to the farmers market at a shopping center near us. There was like a farmers market, and then I would go out to my father belonged to a country club. I used to go out there and walk 18 holes until it got dark, and do that like Saturday and Sunday, and then go back to work and stuff like that.
That's brutal.
That's
brutal.
I wasn't a happy person at that time. I am probably not a happy person now. But I'm happier. But I ultimately just walked into this in the farmers market. There was this cheese store, and I used to go there religiously. And then one day I just saw a help wanted sign, and I was like, "You need help?" And they're like, yeah, maybe. And I gave my phone number. And then the following week, I came back and I said, you still need help? But nobody ever called me. He's like, oh, yeah, we lost your number. Can you stick around for a second? I said, why? He's like, the owner wants to come down here and offer you a job. I'm like, what? He comes down. He says, I want you to manage the store. I'm like, manage the store? I've never managed anything in my life. He's like, I don't have a choice. The woman managing the store is 5.5 months pregnant, and she's leaving in like 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, you really planned ahead. So I said, how much? And I was like, well, I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. And it wasn't that much of a
step down.
Yeah, more responsibility, which was cool. And I was like. So, are we allowed to curse on this
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, please do.
All right, I said, fuck it, and I said, let's do it. So I ended up managing this cheese store for ended up being like 2 months, because what I didn't know is that the owner of the cheese store had managed to piss off the shopping center, and they had basically terminated his lease. But in those 2 months, I learned a lot, and I did really well, and I really enjoyed it, and I ended up. And then afterwards, I ended up working for my father for a little bit. I didn't really enjoy that.
Right.
So I just was getting kind of depressed, and I said, I'm just going to go back down to New Orleans. I'm going to open up a cheese store. And I ended up driving down, and I didn't know how to open up a store. I just managed a place for 2 weeks or 2 months. So I ended up walking in a Martin wine cellar, and I think they offered me $7.50 an hour. And then I think I walked into Whole Foods on Magazine, because the original Whole Foods on which is now Canseco's.
Right.
They were losing business hand over fist because the brand new one had opened.
Right.
And I walked into the one, and they were like, "Wow, we want to hire you. You're very qualified, but we're kind of hiring from within right now. We're setting a precedent, so we don't really have any openings for you, but we can put you." So they put me at the Canseco's,
right?
The original Whole Foods, which was at the time it was pretty cool. It was like they were still doing like a neighborhood.
That's the one on Esplanade, right?
Yeah, they were like still a neighborhood supermarket. They were still doing. That was the only Whole Foods you would ever have plate lunches and stuff like that. And it was cool, but you could just see like they were anything that was of any value or they were pulling them out and moving them and just leaving the malcontents at this store. And so I lasted there for about 2 or 3 months. And then I just walked back into Martin Wine Cellar. I said, I'll take the $7.50 an hour. And they're like, nah, we'll match the $8. I'm like, oh, you're so sweet. And I ended up working at Martin Wine Cellar for like a couple years, and I learned a lot there, and I enjoyed it. And then my father came calling, and I ended up moving back to work for him. And again, it just wasn't satisfying. So I moved down to open this place. And while I was opening this place, I was actually worked for Butch at Dorniak's. I was pulling beer for Butch at Dorniak's. That guy's a legend. That guy's great. I haven't seen Butch in a while, but yeah, he is.
You've literally worked for. Well, other than the Whole Food state, you've worked for all the New Orleans staples.
Yeah, like the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity.
There's so many staples here.
I know, but I mean,
I don't know. I mean, are there? I mean, they're still around. Like, yeah, I work for
Martin's Wine Cellar is pretty much like the spot.
I work for
shit goes down at Martin's Wine Cellar.
I know.
like Power Broker still.
I remember
hang out at Martin's Wine Cellar.
I remember going in there for lunch one day, and Mitch was like there having lunch, and I was like, wow, Mitch doesn't eat my place anymore. What he does, he just gets an egg salad sandwich to go or something.
Right.
Like that.
It is the place where, like, low key, like if the Martin's Wine Cellar, Uptown, the one on Veterans, like you walk in there any given day, and there's like. You see regular people, politicians, and millionaires just all hanging out together.
Well, who used to come? Oh, Ed
Murray.
Ed Murray used to say.
Oh, he's still.
Ed was. I worked there, and Ed was there more than I was.
Honestly, I don't know for the life of me. I do not know how Ed Murray does not have stock in Martin's Wine Cellar, or like a part ownership, considering the amount of money he's invested by living there.
Yeah,
but it's still a spot. If you want to find Ed Murray on any given day, Martin's Wine Cellar.
Oh, he's still there.
Still there.
That's like 20. That's like 25. That's like 25 years ago.
Yes,
20 years ago.
He's still there.
Oh my!
And then
Larry's
still there. They're all still there. It's just, and now you see like Jimmy Harris, who replaced Ed as a senator. He's there. Like it's like 4 or 5 generations of politicians all coalescing at Martin's Wine Cellar constantly.
Oh wow! I didn't.
It's crazy, dude.
I'm here so much, so I don't get to see it.
Well, maybe I'll start bringing politicians here, and then you'll be the Martin's Wine Cellar for the average Joe.
I don't think. I mean, if you ever come here during the day, I don't think.
I have. I mean, it'd be hard to have a private conversation. People are just so like on top of each other, enjoying the food. I mean, Martin's Wine Cellar, you can carve out a spot, but maybe you could open like a little chef's booth for like the special patrons to stay here.
Where? I mean, my favorite is when somebody comes in here and asks me to put an ATM machine. I'm like, where? I don't even have an extra outlet to put the plug in an ATM.
That's true. I mean, you'd have to build a loft.
Yeah, right.
A loft with stuck like a ladder.
Yeah, let's build vertically.
I have a loft. You have a loft. Where do you think I have to keep my paper goods and my pasta? Well, I mean, yeah.
It's New Orleans, so you want to keep paper goods high. You don't want to keep them low.
Yeah.
What's going to happen. All right, so let's see. Next thing.
Wait, I have a question. What's your favorite kind of cheese?
What's my favorite kind of cheese?
Yeah. Since you know so much about cheese.
I mean, I like wash rinds are like mostly my thing. Like wash rinds are sticky cheeses, so I tend to like cheese with a little bit of stink to them.
Okay.
Wash rinds, mold ripened, and just I like soft cheese.
I like soft cheese.
So soft cheese, like I wouldn't say Latour is a wash rind, but it's like a goat cow sheep from Italy that is, I could pound. I liked reasonably like fresh wash rind cheeses, meaning stinky but not like not maybe overripe or not too ripe and stuff like so I don't like I mean, I haven't been able to
get my cheese game is so weak right now. I'm like, what you're saying.
Some really good. I mean, Richard at St. James is actually, we're not sure, but Richard might have actually been in those 2 months that I ran the cheese store in Ardmore. Richard thinks he might have been there, and he actually might have been one of my customers.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but we're not sure. We can't figure that out.
St.
But
James is
gone.
great.
Oh, it is great.
It's fantastic.
Well, and that's kind of actually where. So when I went to open up my place, I actually was going to do more of a cheese store, but then I heard this guy was opening up a cheese store. Richard opened up, I think, a month before I did, and I went in there and I saw what he was doing. I'm like,
I don't want to do this.
We're not going to be able to do 2 of these,
right?
And we need to go. So, and I don't have the money to make it look this nice. So we
St.
kind
James is nice.
So we went into we kind of went in a different direction, and then we ultimately circled back into the same direction, which is sandwiches. yeah, it was both.
All roads lead back to sandwiches.
Yeah, it was like funny. It's like I went more for groceries and more low budget cheese, and he went for like the fancy schmancy cheese. But at the end of the day, we both
make sandwiches.
We both make sandwiches and salads. I mean, that's what drives probably. I mean, he does sell a lot of cheese and stuff like that, and he does a really good job. You also have Jim Yonkis at the Independent. He used to be the cheesemonger at Martin Wine Cellar. He's super knowledgeable. On my block, like where I live, a block away from me, Steve Strajewski, the owner of Koshan.
Okay.
His wife Janine used to be the cheesemonger at Whole Foods back when I was like the cheesemonger at Martin Wine Cellar.
There's a whole secret cheese network.
So we used to.
It's just like a cheese
Gene
network.
and I used to flick boogers at each other all the time. We used to their place is a dump, and I'm like, yeah, they pre-wrap their cheese. I'm like, and stuff like that. And then actually right around the corner from us is this woman, Liz. I don't know her last name. Dave Heck's wife, Liz. She'll probably kill me. But she used to work for Murray's Cheese, and she's like a big cheese. It's like literally this one little block.
There's a square block of cheese heads.
Square block of like people that like are super knowledgeable about cheese and stuff like that. And then Richard. And Jim.
That's so okay. So you open up this lovely. Was going to be a cheese store.
Lovely.
Now it is. What's this? It's lovely. I mean, I'm a comic book nerd, and you've got pops on the wall, so you already got me. I'm good.
Got nice art, and
you got your 2 Batman up there, your Funko Pops.
Yeah.
You got your lunchbox. I mean, it's some serious shit.
Yeah, people bring me stuff, and I'm like, I'm running out of room, but they keep bringing me stuff.
I was going to tell you, like, I'm going to probably sneak some Batman tchotchke in here for you too. So I'm just going to let you know. I know you have to make some space for it, but.
Bring a shelf with you.
No, you know what I'm going to do? I've got a batarang, dude. I'm going to bring you a batarang.
What the fuck is a batarang?
The thing Batman throws at people. It pins them against walls and shit. You know what a batarang is, right?
Yeah, the batarang.
I'm going to bring him a batarang, man.
Batarang.
This is a... Anyway, so, all right. We're going to talk about some actual issues that are important to everyone. Let's start with one that's near and dear. Insurance. Small business owner. Insurance, cost of living. Let's talk about insurance.
You really want to talk about
Let's
this?
talk about
For
insurance.
those that don't know, Dan specifically asked to talk about
These issues are Dan's issues, and so we're going to talk
Dan
about
was
it.
very clear he wanted
Dan
to
wants to talk
talk
about
about it.
insurance.
I saw the special session on taxing, and I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, why the fuck are we doing this?
Why are we? And the funny thing is, the end result was been like, all right, so we basically dropped the tax on the super wealthy a little bit, and then we're funneling it into a regressive increase in sales tax, right? Is essentially that?
Well, let's talk about special tax session that will go into insurance. So the interesting thing is, I used to chair the tax committee in the legislature for the state. For 4 years, I was the chair of the Senate tax committee. All right, good.
Then you can tell me what exactly is going on, and why do we have to phase out all these exemptions? Why do we have to get rid of the exemption? Why can't we phase them out?
Well, okay. So first off, what the governor is attempting to do is like every Republican governor. It's like getting rid of income tax is like the fucking white whale with Moby Dick. Like they just have to go kill the income tax. And the challenge is, because Jindal did this first, and when we were meeting, he was talking about it, and this is before I was the tax committee. This was when I was a regular legislator when I was in the House, and he wanted to get rid of income tax, and he's like, I want to be like Texas. And we're like, this is how this works. States that have no income tax have ridiculously high property tax. That is the exchange. And the challenge,
but that's not regressive.
it's not. So the point we made to Jindal back then, which was his last term, we're like, listen, if you want to go to no income tax, we can do that if you want to raise property tax. But this is where Republicans get fucking weird. They're like, we don't want to raise taxes. We don't want you. We want to get rid of the income tax, but not do anything else. And it's like, that's not how math works. We have a budget. It's like billions of dollars. If you want to get rid of this money, you got to replace that money or you got to cut. And they're like, we want to cut. It's like, but then when you show them how much shit you have to cut, it's not enough where they can just screw over the poor. They got to screw over the rich and the middle class too. So Jindal, and I never say this, but to his credit, was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. What you have now is Richard Nelson, who is the revenue secretary for Landry. He ran on getting rid of the income tax. But once he got in there, he realized, oh, shit, we can't get rid of income tax. We can't replace it. So the new idea was we have a 3-phase tax system, which is, I want to say like 7.5, 4.5, and 1.8. 1.8 is what almost everyone pays. As the lowest income tax bracket, if you are at the poverty line, lower middle class, you're paying 1.8%. The solution, this is where flat tax is literally the biggest fucking trick that rich people do to poor people. They say, we're going to equalize the tax. We're going to do a flat tax, 3% for everybody. Well, Dan, I would say probably 60% of residents are paying 1.8%. After the session, they're paying 3%. That's not a tax decrease. It's a fucking tax increase. For the richest people, it's a tax decrease. But for the average Louisianian, the person who's been paying 1.8 for the last 30, 40 years, they're going to have their income tax fucking double.
That's worse than I thought.
It's worse than you thought. On top of all that.
All right, keep going.
On top of all that, their solution is, we're not going to go in and like deal with the tax credit programs that are bullshit, like offshore vessel tax credit, which is one we give the coastal parishes for oil and gas. They say, hey, you go, rather than make oil companies threaten to move their boats off the shore, you charge them, state reimburses you. Inventory tax, the biggest load of horse shit in the state of Louisiana. So there's a tax. Municipalities, parishes, they tax people for stocking shit, like used cars. So they go in your lot, say, oh, you have so many used cars, you owe us tax for that. Years ago, when Edwin Edwards was governor, like first time, there was a huge fight within one parish over the inventory tax. Edwin, because he was King Solomon, said, you know what? Don't fight anymore. Charge them the income tax. The state will reimburse it. When he started that shit, that was like $2 million. Now it's $280 million because every parish figured out, wait a second, I'm going to go to Exxon and say, you've got $2 million of inventory. Exxon's going to say, I mean, I don't, but I don't really have to pay it because if I let you charge me $2 million, I'm going to get a check from the state. We both make out ahead. You get your extra money, parish. I pay you, but I'm not really paying you. The state's paying you, and it turned into a big fucking welfare program for all these rural parishes with a lot of industrial development. These are all the big, giant pots of money. Instead, they focus on film and move the film tax credit and historic because those are tax credits that are in urban areas that are not where Republicans live. They're areas where they feel like if we're going to get rid of this off the back of somebody, those are the ones that are the least going to fight us and win. But it's just, all of it's bullshit because when I was up there and chaired that committee, I said, if we don't want to do tax credits, get rid of all of them. If we got rid of all of them, Dan, we could pay for everything. What always happens is, it's happening this time again, is they cherry pick which ones they want to keep, and they get rid of the ones that are the lowest hanging fruit, which is why solar tax credits died off, because we're an oil and gas state and they hate renewable energy. But sorry, that was my rant. I'm done.
No, that was a lot.
My rant. I think about this a lot.
It's a very informative level. So do I.
Yeah.
It's like
we both probably spend too much time staring at a wall.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is the rationale for decreasing or getting rid of the income tax is to be more like Texas.
The goal is they keep telling everyone that if we have a flat tax rate and it's less complicated, more corporations will invest here. and more people will move here. The reality is that
It's not going to happen.
it does not happen. I'll tell you. I'll give you a great example.
I mean, it's not going to, the education not there, but also that's where insurance comes in.
Well,
what are you going to do? Where are all these people going to live? They're going to come here.
Well, to your point, it would have made more sense if you talk to the average person, black, white, purple, green, Republican, Democrat, Independent. They give more of a shit about insurance right now than the income tax. Because whether the income tax is 1.8% or 3%,
should.
But what's crazy is if the legislature had a special session on insurance to actually make insurance affordable, that would be the legislature and the governor tackling an issue people actually give a shit about. The tax session is not about people. It's about making businesses and corporations happy and trying to kind of prostitute ourselves and hope more business come here. I will tell you, this is like another mini rant. There is a company called CenturyLink. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. CenturyLink is internationally on the level with Apple for providing business services and like electronic and backhouse for like phones and internet and the like across the world, mostly to corporations and businesses. It's headquartered in Monroe. When I was up there, even before Jindal, the legislature had to appropriate basically a chunk of money each year so CenturyLink wouldn't leave. Because every year, it's an international company located in Monroe, Louisiana, and every year we had to basically talk them off a ledge because the international board of CenturyLink was like, why the fuck are we in Louisiana? And they would come down regularly and say, I know you're giving us an extra $1 million, but we literally can't get engineers to move to Louisiana to work here because of things like all of your crazy regressive social positions. You have people, let's say, who are gay, for example, where if they can't adopt in Louisiana and we haven't recognized that gay marriage is legal, why the fuck would they move there with their spouse and kids and not go work for Apple or someone else in California? They don't give a shit how much money we keep shoving at them. It's a matter of time. They might have left already, but every year was like they were on the border. And this campus they have in Monroe, Dan, it's like fucking Apple. It's like holograms and shit everywhere, but it's like they kept shoving lipstick on the pig to try and keep the pig here, and the pig was half out the door. But like to your point,
is it there? Are they still there?
I don't know. I haven't honestly, they were there the last time I checked like 3 years ago, but like it was increasingly tenuous to keep them there. Mm-hmm. And it's like right now they're about to build this massive Meta Facebook data center in North Louisiana. That's not because of the fucking tax system. It's because they need ridiculous amounts of power, and we've got the Haynesville shale up there for cheap gas and power to power a data center, which basically needs a shitload of water and a shitload of power. Geographically, it's a good spot. Our environment, as far as like being progressive for corporations or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like oil and gas isn't going anywhere because the oil and gas is here. But everything we do is like, I don't know, like second rent ended.
Let's go back to
insurance,
I guess. So a couple months ago, I started. Well, actually, it started more than a couple months ago. It started last year, maybe in like February or March, when I got my mortgage bill, and my mortgage went from originally it was $2,700 a month, dropped down to $2,223 when I refinanced during COVID, like everybody else did. That's another thing we could talk about. We could talk about how like it's slow this week because nobody really lives here anymore because during COVID everybody bought second homes with the low
interest rates.
Yeah, it's why during the summers there's nobody here because people that live here don't stay here, and people that don't live here don't stay here. So neither of them are here during the summer, which is why our summers have gotten so terrible. Anyway, So that was one thing that I sort of picked up. You pick up a lot of things when you work in your business all the fucking time. You see shit.
You see the real shit.
You just see shit. It's funny. I like to surround myself with business friends and numbers people, but because I can try to get them to at least give me numbers to try to back up what I'm feeling. I said it one time. I feel like Daredevil. I'm blind. I'm completely blind, but I know there's something going on and stuff like that. So the first thing was watching that, and then slowly watching my employees moving around, like getting kicked out of their houses or moving houses because their rents were going up or stuff like that. And then my lease came up for renewal here, and I spoke to her. We actually have a very good relationship, and my rent went up 30%. I won't give you the exact amounts. It went up 30%, and she basically told me, because we're not like triple net or anything like that. She's like, my insurance went up this much. I need some money to
cover the insurance.
And you and H&R Block, district has a very long-term lease, so that she can't touch them. But I got to cover the insurance, so that went up. Then, and I'm also very good friends with my insurance guy, who's Jewish guy, and we get along. And And I ask him, like, I'll literally call him in the middle of, like, can you explain this to me? Can you explain this to me? What's going on here? So that happened, and then all of a sudden, I think during the summer, my insurance was going away. I said, did I do something wrong? Because I did file a claim. I said, did I file a claim? I think I filed a claim for my walk-in to recover like $3,000. I got denied. I said, did they leave? He's like, no, they left the whole state.
Right.
Berkshire Hathaway left the whole state. And so they resourced my insurance, and that's another $500 a month. But it's not kicking in until January because they weren't allowed to leave the state because they had to stay through the season.
The legislature got rid of that.
What?
They got rid of preventing. So last regular session, and this is like just real talk, we're fucked on insurance. We're fucked.
Oh, yeah, well, why don't we build up to we're fucked on insurance?
Well, so here's why we're fucked. We're fucked because...
She's smiling.
Yeah.
Because everything is awesome.
We're fucked on insurance.
Is this the way you really want these podcasts to go? All right,
we're fucked
this is what we know
We're fucked on insurance because the previous insurance commissioner, love him or hate him, had a tension with the insurance industry. He was like, I can't control you making profit, but I can put enough consumer rights in so you can't just fuck over insurance holders. The current insurance commissioner's solution to rising insurance is to deregulate the market, not control costs, and remove consumer protections. Like, for example, there were a variety of laws, these are like since Katrina, where you cannot drop a policyholder in certain periods if they're current. All those protections got removed because this insurance commissioner has convinced everyone that Reaganomics is still a thing, and that if the market is fully open, that it'll just regulate itself out. Now, which is a clusterfuck, because I will tell you the simple reality of insurance in the state of Louisiana. Insurance never goes down. Never.
Well, so it's my insurance guy. I asked him. I said, what he's doing, like the free marketing, the whole thing. He's like, I'm like, so I said, this is not going to fix anything. He's like, oh no, it's not going to fix it. Is this a bad thing? He's like, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know on a practical level. He said, it's not a bad thing. If anything, it'll encourage some insurance carriers to re-enter the state, but they're going to basically cherry pick. They're going to cherry pick the no-brainer policies, anything, but they're not going to go into areas which have a lot of risk.
Right after Katrina, when we had the same problem, I passed a bill that said, because right now the insurer of last resort is Citizens. Everybody knows what Citizens.
Oh, I mean, I have to know what Citizens is. They're my insurance.
Here's the issue, though. So Citizens is set up in the law to write 10% higher than the highest writer in your area.
Correct.
To be non-competitive. What we did after Katrina, and I really kind of forced it, and the independent agents and all kind of helped me, but I said, listen, if no one will fucking write Dan a policy, how is it fair to make him pay 10% higher than nothing? Right. Because literally, if State Farm, Allstate say, fuck Dan, why does he have to pay Citizens 10% higher than where no one will write? So for 3 years, I passed a law that said Citizens can write competitively. They can write what they think Dan's risk really is and not penalize him because no one else will write. That's what made insurance not implode on people after Katrina, because everyone was doing the same shit. Matt Willard, who's a rep, tried to do the same thing, and this new insurance commissioner and the legislature killed it. They didn't let him do it. And the only way you're going to have what happened after Katrina when we did that was, to your point, everyone who couldn't get insurance, they got Citizens at a reasonable level, and after the risk went down because there were no major claims, no major hurricanes, all of the private companies cherry-picked them out. All those people ended up back with an Allstate or a State Farm or whoever, because after a year or two, they're like, oh, Dan's paying his insurance every fucking month. He's a good investment. I kind of want Dan back now. So Citizens...
And he has a nice house. It's not going to... Even it's going to withstand...
He hasn't any claims, so they would go to Citizens every year, and they would just pull people off the Citizens rolls who were good risks. That's why it worked. And right now, that's what needs to happen. They need to go back and say, you know what? If you're not going to write Dan a fucking policy, why is he paying 10% higher than market rate when no one else will write him a fucking policy?
But that's still...
That's common sense.
Yeah, but it's short term. I mean...
In the long term, the problem we've got is until New Orleans goes through 5 to 10 years of no major claims for hurricanes and the like.
That's not going to happen.
But that's the problem. The problem is that unless the government is going to underwrite insurance,
that's what needs to happen.
Here's the flip side of that, because I'm not necessarily opposed to that. The problem is that when you let the government fully underwrite insurance like they do in Florida, and then you actually get fucking...
So they're the reinsurance people too, right?
Right.
Well, that partial reinsurance, right?
Florida... Their Citizens underwrites way more risk than ours does.
Right. I mean, I read about that too. And they also have reinsurance there. But the difference is it's Florida, it's Texas. They have 22 million people. They have 29 million people. They have a lot of money. We have 4.5 million people.
That's the issue. The issue is that when you get shellacked in Florida or Texas, there are enough people in the state that when you have to go into the state coffers to pay off all of the undercapitalized claims you have, there's enough people spread it around.
For now.
Well, I mean, I think Texas will be fine. Florida has issues.
Yeah, Texas, because Texas has got that little border and it's the rest of the state.
Right.
Florida's... I looked at Florida and I'm like, I see... Because I don't know if you saw the map that I sent you.
We'll put it up. We'll put up the map. On the
map.
Thing, yeah.
And it showed the risk. And it showed risk. And then it showed percentage of property value, your insurance premiums.
Right.
And basically, our area, I'm paying I actually am paying about 2% of my property value every year for insurance premiums. But if you go to Florida, the whole state is red. Like, this is danger. But when it comes to paying risk, they're cheap.
Right.
Because of... it's got to be funny math.
But also, part of why that works is the more people you have paying into your insurance company. So the issue is in Florida, because their Citizens is widespread, they have more people paying into it. They also are generating more money from sales tax than we do, because they have 22 million people. They also have more people generating sales tax because they're tourists and get more tourist dollars than us, which is actually another reason why. I mean, so if the state needs to generate more revenue, ultimately, right? I mean, going back to the special session. Like, for example,
we're probably getting too detailed.
No, but I'll give you. We're an oil and gas state. Our severance taxes are a fucking joke. Texas taxes the shit out of all the oil going through Texas. Not only are severance taxes a joke, while we're doing this big session to get rid of income tax, they're literally legislators who are trying to further reduce the friggin' severance tax. Like, severance tax is like printed easy money. The oil and gas is here. We tax you when you pull the oil and gas out. And it's like we are so half-assed when it comes to being like Texas. Texas taxes the shit out of oil and gas because they also know the industry ain't going nowhere. The industry is where the oil and gas is. But like, to your point, if we were more aggressive about getting revenue that didn't actually hurt the average person, we could have the money to do nice things. Instead, we want to figure out.
I don't want to do the money to do nice things.
Okay.
But we need.
But by nice things, I mean provide basic shit to citizens. I'm sorry, I don't mean like.
Yeah.
I mean to pay our fucking bills.
Well, I mean, so when it comes down to it, I mean, the amount, like I said, and I'm seeing it. You know, here I am seeing it. I look around and I see places closing. I see places opening. I see places closing. I see people leaving. And I see insurance. And that's why it was on my list. I mean, it's not technically inflation. It's not but it's.
Oh, it's absolutely fucking inflation.
But it doesn't count as inflation.
I mean, it doesn't count in their math, but I mean, it's like
count in the inflation of math, but it is.
I mean, we have these community meetings where people come to talk about city issues. In every meeting, someone brings up insurance, and the reality is like, I wish the city could regulate fucking insurance. We can't.
It's not a question of regulating it.
But the point is like right now, Leslie Harris, good friend of both you and I, other council person. Part of the affordable housing fund goes to fortified roofs. People are like, why are you doing that? It's because that's the only fucking thing we can do as a city to help you lower your rate. The only thing we can do is help you get fortified roofs.
And you know, the state does like a lottery every year, and it like what 3,000 houses. I mean,
yeah.
What is that? Nothing.
That's nothing. It's nothing. I mean, the reality is that like.
But even then, all right. I didn't send you. I don't know if I send you Tim Gold's my insurance. He's, you know, did you know our insurance premiums are probably going up again next year?
I have no doubt. It would not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, because of what happened in Florida,
right?
Because of the wildfires on the East Coast,
yep,
and stuff like that. And you know where Texas and Florida are set up a little bit because of their population,
right,
to weather this. We're not.
No, we're not, and the reality.
In fact, we are very. I mean, and you look at the city of New Orleans. We're actually we're in a bubble compared to the rest of the state. I mean, the rest of the state. I'm reading articles on the Time-Picayune. They're hemorrhaging people.
Well, and the difference is this: believe it or not, insurance companies and people in New Orleans are not going to believe this, but like the fact we have a fucking $1 trillion levy system does help us to some degree. If you live in Terrebonne or one of these coastal parishes, you're beyond fucked.
Oh,
because literally insurance companies are like, the coast is vanishing. There's no hope in there in sight. The governor just came out against the Barrett's area diversion.
The storms are faster.
Yep.
The storms are stronger. The storms are more often. It's climate change and when
the state does nothing to mitigate climate change, those same insurance companies that are modeling what your insurance is going to be, when we're not repairing the coast, when the storms are coming through, when the surge is always high, everything we don't do goes into the model because all they're doing is mitigating risk. And I mean, to your point, we don't have enough people paying into a government system for it to work. We don't have enough smart investment in a government system for it to work. We're not doing enough to combat climate change to prove to the rest of the fucking country that we're taking it seriously. It's just all those things add up. And we are totally scaring people off from New Orleans right now.
New Orleans? We talk about, how about the state?
Well, the thing is this.
I know you don't,
I'll tell you, as someone who's a former state legislator, especially in the wake of this last election, honestly, Dan, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I just got to focus on New Orleans right now. Because it's part of like, you got to focus on the things you have control over.
Yes, my therapist loves to remind me of that.
And for me right now, after the shit show that was the last election, my primary focus is like, what can I do to make people in New Orleans, their lives better? And there's not a lot, but that's what I'm focused on. I mean, I do still dip my toe into like state stuff because some state stuff you can't avoid, like fucking insurance regulation. But the same token, it's like, there's this.
But at the end of the day, I don't think regulation is.
I mean,
You're talking about pennies and dimes. You're not talking about.
What I will tell you, and I'll go back to it. In 12 years in the legislature, what I saw about insurance in the state of Louisiana was insurance. Like, even when you have the automobile insurance companies who are like, if you get rid of trial lawyers, we'll lower your rates. When you put those fucking people at a table under oath and go, if I pass this bill, will my rates go down? They go, no.
No.
The issue about insurance is anyone who is told by any legislator, insurance commissioner, governor, your rates can go down is fucking lying to you. I will tell you, in my time in the legislature, it was about controlling how much they go up. That was what we really had some agency over. And the challenge is right now is I push back on saying regulation doesn't help because now the market is unregulated. Watch how like it used to be, if you wanted to raise your rate, you had to go to the insurance commissioner and get permission to do it and justify it. The current insurance commissioner is like, fuck that. You want to raise your rate? Raise that shit. Let the market decide. The problem there is if you don't have someone who's putting their foot on the brake on insurance increases, you see what you see now, which is your insurance company is gonna A, mitigate risk, and B, say how much can I get out of you without you canceling your insurance. So like, I agree, if we had enough people or we had a better state and we could have a subsidized option that would make it affordable. But even in that environment, you got to have some regulation to keep them from just pricing you out of the fucking market. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't have the solution. I have the solution I've done it over the last 12 years.
Anyway, so I just wanted to bring up.
It's killing people.
It's killing people. It's killing business in this city. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then, obviously, I'm prejudiced. I like this city, so I want to be here. I want it to be nice, but I see more of a revolving door now. People leaving and coming in, right. and stuff like that. I mean, and it's hard because I built this. I live nice, but I don't live nice and stuff like that. But this is what I like to do.
Everyone loves you and loves this place because it's a place that is a staple of the community.
Yeah.
And it's like you're here and you're reliable because they know no matter how shitty shit gets, they come here and get a sandwich. And
that's always kind of what I wanted. There are times where, I will say a couple weeks ago that thing, I was hungover for a couple days. Or a week, actually. I've kind of come out of it. I've come to a sort of an interesting realization or an epiphany. I don't think this podcast is the place for it.
No,
but we maybe later over a sandwich or something,
yeah.
Or over a slice of pizza.
When the power brokers come to Stein's Deli.
No,
when I come down here with Leslie Harrison, we're plotting the future of the city.
Power brokers would.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand either what. But I've gone from literally like 2 days after the election telling Dan Fox at Anti-Gravity that I want to pull my ads because I'm not happy and I'm not here to entertain people anymore because I'm hurt. Because I'm hurt because people around me are hurt and I can't just be that guy that entertains people and pretends like nothing happened. But and if Fox is listening to this, yeah, I'm going to advertise in your paper, Fox. I've changed my mind over the last week. I've come to some epiphanies over what I think happened and what's my role. I'm just a little corner store, but I do have a little bit.
Dan, you're more than a corner store, man. I would argue that for better or worse, whether you want to be or not, you're kind of an icon in the city.
One of the points is becoming the icon.
Yeah, but
the way you be, I mean, if the way that I become an icon is by not being being a reluctant icon, it's because.
But that's the best. I mean, Dan, honestly, like the people.
I got another guy here who's even more reluctantly like Regis, an icon here
Right.
that like that they don't even like. Regis is basically run this fucking deli
Right.
for like 15 years. I mean, analytically, I can't even hold a candle to that guy. That guy process information, unreal, and what he can do. Yeah, but
Dan,
both like yeah.
I can tell you, like from my perspective with you, there are so few people who are no bullshit. Who just no bullshit. Like, I mean, just like you, who when they're talking to you, like I met you through Jenny, who's our mutual friend, Jenny Green,
Right.
And
Shout out Jenny Green.
Shout out Jenny Green, because she's probably one of our 10 podcast listeners. And,
She is. Thank you, Jenny.
And the thing she told me before I met you was she was like, you'll love Dan because, like, there's very few people who, like, when you talk to them, it's zero bullshit. We're trained throughout our lives to develop layers of bullshit as, like, a protection mechanism for how we interact with people. And Dan, whenever I talk to you, it's like, there's no bullshit. I mean, for better or worse, I mean, as Monet knows, I get a reputation when I do these meetings, like these community meetings. People ask me questions. I tell them the fucking answer. Sometimes it's fucking depressing. Like, the people asking about insurance, I was like, here's what's going on with insurance. And they were like, well, fuck, I wish I hadn't asked. And I'm like, I can tell you.
It's not going to go down.
I can tell you what you want to hear.
It's not going to go down. It's going to go up. And unless the state takes a plan, not just involving regulation, it's going to keep on because we're not situated. I mean, we need the state to do it, which is not a very conservative thing, because it's like conservatives are very much state stays out. This is
the last election cleared that up. Conservatives saying states' rights, states stay out, citizens' rights, that's all bullshit. They want the government to be as involved as possible if it's pushing their shit. And if they don't like the shit, they want the government out. But to your point, I would love the government to get in the fucking insurance game to actually help people and spend less time being worried about what the fuck you're doing in your house. Like,
the Ten Commandments stuff.
That's fucking crazy.
It's
so stupid.
It bothered me for like a week, and then I realized it's just a red herring.
It is a red herring.
It's just red herring. It's just this is how we appeal to the Bible thumpers.
Well,
and then stuff like that.
Like not,
and this is like, also how we piss off the libtards and stuff like that. So I just push it aside and move to the next and go to insurance.
That is the lesson. One of the 10 lessons. Like I said, we'll do this a whole different fucking time, but this is one of the lessons from this election. Literally, fucking our conservatives, they do shit to spin us up, to distract us from the other shit they're doing. Like, 10 Commandments is a fucking red herring. It is dumb. It is something that we are spending a tremendous amount of energy, as we should, getting rid of it. But while we're doing that, they're changing the fucking tax structure of Louisiana to make it more aggressive to poor people, to double the taxes for 50% of Louisiana residents. And what are the news covering? 10 Commandments. And what are people talking about when they're bitching about how America's going in the wrong direction when they're liberals? 10 Commandments. It's like, this is the shit they've been doing up into and through this last election. They get us so focused and spun up on bullshit that when they're doing the real kind of shady shit, we don't even notice till it's too late.
Anyway, with that, okay. I just thought that the interesting thing was the end all be all of this whole tax thing was, after getting rid of this and this and this, they basically cut taxes, although they increased taxes.
Yep.
They cut taxes and increased taxes, income taxes, and they up sales tax.
Yep.
So this ended up this tax change, which is going through, ends up being,
it's going to go through tomorrow, but like.
I mean, it's still got to be voted on, right?
It's still got to be voted on. That the challenge is like,
but ultimately, it's a extremely regressive tax now, because now you basically upped the income tax on poor people.
Yep.
and you raise sales tax, which is also regressive, right?
Right, and the challenge is like the Democrats up there are in a fucking trick bag because
there's no Democrats up there.
Well, but the ones that are up there, they're like, well, fuck, I can vote against all this shit, and when they have to make cuts because none of this passes, Dan, you know what they cut first? All the safety nets to poor people and people who are the most vulnerable. So, like, as someone who was up there when it was not as bad as it is now, they're in the most untenable, fucked up position because whenever you don't have enough revenue, they don't cut the waste. They cut all of the programming and resources to the poor and to the needy. Like, they cut healthcare, they cut early childhood, they cut education, they cut colleges. So Democrats up there, the ones who have a conscience, who are still trying to do the right thing, they're like, well, fuck, I want to vote against the sales tax. But if the sales tax doesn't pass and they pass this fucked up plan without it and they have to make cuts, they're going to fuck over poor people. They're going to fuck over children. They're going to fuck over pregnant women. They're going to fuck over all these people. And so it's like, it's just I can tell you as someone who left the legislature, it takes a certain, it's just rough, man. It's just fucked up. It's just fucked up, dude. It's just fucked up. Okay, let's talk about East Coast life versus Gulf Coast life.
I mean, I went to Philly last year for like the first time in like 5 years. I went to New York actually after I got carjacked. I got my face smashed in.
That was some crazy shit.
Yeah, that was a rough night.
Yeah.
That was a rough night. Actually, the doctor who stitched me up that night, Maureen Gross, her husband came in today. One of my regular customers. It was actually pretty cool getting out of the ambulance and being wheeled in, and all of a sudden she just, I'm sitting there in bed, and all of a sudden I hear, fucking Dan Stein. Fucking Dan Stein. It's like,
Dan, honestly, that's how all the fucking New Orleans was. We're like, what motherfucker beat up Dan Stein?
Wait, I have a small story. So one time I was at UMC for blood work, and I was in the waiting room, and you were in the waiting room. You were taking
probably with Mark.
No, you were taking a little nap, and you had like receipts as like notes paper and a can of LaCroix, and I'm like, this is what I pictured Dan Stein to be.
Yeah,
napping in the UMC lobby.
I have a guy who lives with me who's been like, I kind of take care of him, Mark, and he's been with me for a long time, and yeah, he's gotten older and his health is not optimal. But we've gone to University Medical Center quite a bunch. But I mean, to the credit of Medicaid, they make it really easy to take care of Mark, as hard it is to take care of fucking Mark. They make it really easy to take care of him, and I mean, 2 hip replacements, all that stuff. I mean, it's been managing that has been fun.
Hey, but don't worry, Dr. Oz is going to take care of Mark.
I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean,
you have to laugh about
part of I don't have to laugh about it.
Yeah, well, you have to.
I don't have to laugh about it.
I mean, bizarre.
It's some, and I didn't want to go into this area, but it sometimes it reminds me of Animal Farm. I just sometimes I see a bunch of people just completely voting not in their best interests, and it bothers me. I see a bunch of horses voting so they can turn into glue.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just bothers me.
But Dan, did you know? I don't know if you knew this.
I'm not going to sit here and blame. I'm not going to sit here and yell and scream.
There were statistics looking at most searched terms post-election. There was a 700% increase in "Can I change my vote?" There are people, like, I get your point, and honestly, it's kind of like the story of Louisiana as a whole. People do not vote in their own interest, and because honestly, they don't like the average person, Dan, does not realize how much the government touches their fucking life. They do not realize your health care all your resources, the fucking streets, all this stuff is informed by how you vote.
For example, this tax break, if it goes through.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking just about people in New Orleans. We're talking people throughout the state, even conservative people that could arguably be voting against their best interests, an increase in sales tax and an increase in their income tax, but they'll do it because
you have to remember, the politicians who are voting are not the people who are impacted. So the person. So this is
who votes on? Is this voted by the politician?
Yep.
Or does not
go in front of people. It's just the legislature votes and it happens. The issue is that people, when an election time comes, I was
hoping this would be one of those things like
we don't have referendums.
One of those things that I'm like, I call Jenny Green. I'm like, all right, I don't want to read the paragraph, Jenny. Tell me which one I'm voting for.
You get that call often.
Now the constitutional amendments.
Yes on one, no on two.
There are a couple of constitutional amendments that they do have coming out of this, but most of the stuff they're doing, Dan, it's one and done at the legislature. The problem is people don't. They pay attention to politicians during an election, and they don't pay attention to what they actually do or don't do. My greatest frustration in my time in politics is there are too many politicians who don't do a goddamn thing, but because they shake hands properly and they go to the right places, they're elected perpetually forever. And there's a distinct separation. They have this great poll in Congress that they've done for years. People will hate fucking Congress. The Congress will have a 1% approval rating, and they will love their congressman. And there's a disconnect between you hate Congress because nothing fucking happens, but you'll reelect the same guy every time because you like that dude. Now, there's no correlation between, did that guy actually vote to make my life better at all? Same in the legislature. Like, people vote for legislators because they like them. They don't actually grade them on what the fuck they did. And they don't hold them to account. Like, I promise you, Republicans have the super majority in the legislature. When this tax plan goes through, and you're someone
it's going to go through,
and they do a flat tax at 3%, if you are one of the people in the lowest tax bracket, your fucking tax doubled. The challenge for Democrats in messaging is they don't know how to explain, which I just did in 2 seconds, they doubled your fucking tax. Have you heard that in the press at all? That they're doubling your fucking taxes?
No.
It's math. If there's a flat tax going towards the middle, the people on the upper echelon are paying less money. People on the lower bracket are paying more money. No one is telling poor people you're about to get hosed. And honestly, when they all get their tax bills and realize it, the thing that people count on is that when it comes up for re-election time, I'm going to distract you with Muslim bans or 10 commandments, and you'll forget I raised your fucking taxes by double. That's the problem. That's the problem when you're talking to people, is that they don't look at what people accomplish. They look at whatever shiny thing distracts them at the time. And it's frustrating as shit. It's just frustrating.
All right, what's the next fucking topic?
Let's talk about...
I have a question.
If you want to, we could stay here all night and talk about this. I'll order more pizza.
What makes...
I do have to open tomorrow, but I mean, that all it means, what's it, 8 o'clock?
I can sleep under this table.
I have until, I could get home at 6, shower, and then go back to work. It's not a big deal. I haven't done that recently. When I was younger here, I would stay here all night till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then get 2 hours, and then turn around. I can't do that now.
I can't, dude. I got 3 kids. I'm in bed by 10, dude.
I can't do.
I
go to bed at 2 in the morning. Wow. I wake up at 7:30.
God bless you, dude. I can't do that.
No, I mean, I can do it most of the week. One day a week, it's like a bomb went off in my head, and I'm like, I don't want to live right now.
Well, sleep debt's a thing, dude. It catches up with you.
It also like one day a week, all the lack of sleep and whatever else just constipates the fuck out of me, and I'm just done.
You've heard it here first.
Yeah. Yesterday I was in such pain all fucking day, and stuff like that. I could, and it's like I don't have time to go sleep. I got to get shit done. So it's just like find 5 things and get them done on your list. Find things and get them done so you don't have an unproductive day or something like that.
That's some see right there. That's some fucking advice. Because honestly, if I wrote down the 5 things I want to get accomplished and I did them, I would feel like the most badass dude that fucking day. Because sometimes, like, Monet knows, I get lost in the weeds on a given day. I go into the office plan to do 3 things, accomplish 3 totally unrelated things, and forget the 3 things that I was going to do. I mean, I've got the worst case of fucking undiagnosed ADHD on a scene.
No, I mean, it's also, I used to have Andre here used to be my business partner.
Okay.
He got a little bit, he had some health issues and kind of had to extract himself. But back in the day, there used to be 2 of us. So we could actually, somebody could be taking orders and also doing certain things where the other guy is like focusing on lists and getting shit done. And now it's kind of a little bit of a one-man show. And the way that I run my business is I enjoy having an extra person because I guess it's the lawyer in me that I like fighting. But I like fighting in a not how do I put it? Not in a not drawing blood kind of way.
You like a debate, not an argument.
I like to disagree and because I find those to be productive and stuff like that a lot of times, and they get to the chase. And I ever since Andre's gone, and then we had a guy named Baby James Rivard, who was started here 2 weeks in. His sister made me hire him, and oh God, he saved my ass so many times. But he was also one of these guys. It's like I need to pick your brain. I need to pick your brain.
Right.
I need you to. I'm thinking about doing this. Tell me why I'm an idiot or something like that. And I don't really have that all the time. I have Dan Fox sometimes. I'll call people up like Dan Fox, and I say I need you to tell me why I'm.
See, I think that's the highlight of a real person. Like Monet knows, ever since when I first started in politics, I always surrounded myself with people that disagreed with me. And I did that because when people challenge your thinking, it makes you either you're definitely right because you had to survive the argument, or you're dumb. And what I find all the time is that there's so many bad ideas or wrong thinking that gets killed by friends because they challenge you on why you think that. One of the biggest problems, and it's this is my putting on my curmudgeon fucking I'm 46 hat, is that's why I hate social media so much, because it creates these fucking echo chambers where you can be totally wrong. Vaccines cause autism and cause you to grow a tail. And if 10 other people agree with you, you think you're a fucking genius. Whereas back in the day, it's fuck, Dan, if someone comes in your shop and says some stupid shit, you're going to be that's some stupid shit. These days, you can find 10 faceless people on the internet to be oh, you think that aliens, did the moon landing? If 10 other people, faceless folk on the internet, agree with you, you feel like a fucking genius. And that's just everything that's wrong. But I don't know, I'm with you. Whenever I'm not challenged, I get bored. I need people constantly. I don't
know if I get bored
as much as I get
very uncertain. I'm am I doing this right? Am I about to make a decision? Am I about to pass this without debate? Should there be...
Dan, I'll come in here once a week if you'll give me a sandwich and fight with you.
No, I would.
I'll walk in Dan, I'm here for my sandwich, and we're going to argue about a bunch of shit.
If that all the cost me, that's fine.
I'll come here for my Rachel, and I will say, Dan, pick the topic, let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's people always said, so you're the owner, this is your deli. I said, actually, it's your deli. I just fucking take care of it.
What do you think?
That is a line.
What do you think makes a good deli?
What makes a good deli? I don't know. They're closing. We're not. I don't know if I called it. We make good sandwiches. We make them consistently. We use good product. We try to price it reasonably, and it's somewhat no frills. And we try to, and that's what we end up doing. But it's not just the deli. It's the other stuff that's all the piles of shit on top of this. There's pasta for one restaurant, there's rice for another restaurant, and in order to get this stuff on the shelves here and stuff on the shelves at some other retail stores in the city, I got to put together an order. Like, I got a Christmas order. Yeah, the Jewish Deli has a Christmas order coming in from Manicaretti next week. It's going to really, really nice wines. It's going to St. James. It's going to the Independent. I mean, I don't make a lot of money off of it, but that's like one whole night because I'm going to get this 2 pallets of just, and I got to sit here and divide it all up and make piles and figure out who wanted what. And then I got to find a place to put it on. I don't know where I'm going to put it right now, but we'll figure it out. But it's all these things are add to the ambiance.
Is that a squirrel?
Where?
A big stuffed thing up there.
No, it's a poop emoji.
It's a poop.
The poop emoji? For a second, I was like, fuck, that's like an energy squirrel hiding up there. Sorry, I was distracted.
No, that's a lot. But it's a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things about this place is it's actually a very diversified portfolio. And it's one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of competition is in order to pull this off, you have to, and my theory is you have to do more than that. And if you don't have a lot of help, it's a lot for one person to do. And I don't think anybody else wants to do this to themselves. Therefore, and thus, I'll be fine, quote unquote, on a competitive level. But I mean, my therapist who's about to fire me.
Oof, tough.
He's retiring. So, we've worked on it and stuff like that about, doing stuff for myself and stuff like that. I think we've come to the conclusion I'm not good at it. But that being said, I like whatever. I do what I do. That's one of the reasons, people say it's not just a sandwich shop. It's all the other stuff. The coffee place up in the front, they contribute to they help create foot traffic. They contribute a little bit of money to the bottom line.
Right.
It's everything from doing the chips and adding chips. It's having certain groceries that people are like, I can't find this anywhere else. Or I can't find, it's like I find that brand of pasta at Rouse's, but I can't find all these different cuts and stuff like that. It's in being able to specialize in that. And who else has got paparas on the shelf? Actually the shelves look like shit. I got to stock those.
But Dan, I mean, I think that goes towards, like, I was thinking while I was driving over here about how many sandwich shops I've seen go up and go down that just do sandwiches. And I think that's part of your point. I mean, like, if you're just doing a sandwich shop to do a sandwich shop, you got to control your overhead like a mother. It's hard. It's hard. And then you enter in. I mean, there's another. I know you probably should have thrown that on your list. The apps. Oh God.
Oh my God. The apps. The apps have changed.
Were the apps good or bad for you?
Have the apps been good or bad for me?
Are you on the apps?
I'm on the apps. And
has it been a net positive or net negative?
It doesn't matter. They're here and they're here to stay. So I have no choice in the matter and stuff like that. Does my place work better when people walk into my store, buy a sandwich, buy a drink, buy a shelf item, tip my staff? Yes.
Right.
That's the way it was designed to be, and that's the way it works the best. Does it work less optimally when they Uber in?
Right.
I don't know what they're doing. I can't talk to them. I get some goofy order. It takes me 3 minutes to figure out what the hell they're trying to do.
Right.
They don't tip my staff. I charge a little bit extra because I have to now pay my staff more because now they're getting more sales for stuff. I turn on and off the apps at my leisure because obviously if we get busy, I'm going to give preference to first the people who walk in my deli, the second the call-ins, and then the apps are the ones that come in. But that being said, because people do that in the mornings when it is slower, people go right into the office or something like that, they don't want to go out and pick up their food, they will app themselves a breakfast sandwich and stuff like that. And it's slow in here. I'll take the money, I'll take the volume, I'll keep my guys busy and stuff like that. And it also takes communication to explain it to your staff that, I don't like this either, but I don't have a choice.
No, you don't. Because, that person's going to order a sandwich from somewhere.
And it's kind of strange because you watched it go from like 5 different to now it's like basically Uber and DoorDash and Grubhub. And, I don't know how long Grubhub's going to last and stuff like that. And I think John Oliver did this thing where he's like, they're not making any money.
No.
And they weren't making money. I think they literally came into the market and realized there's a demand here. There's a demand here. But let's get rid of all the competitors.
Right.
So they basically have slowly but surely, DoorDash and Uber have niched themselves in, and now you watch them doing goofy shit.
Yep, because they can get away with it.
They're goofing shit. You see that they're bumping the prices up on certain things.
Oh my God. The worst customer service.
You see them
ever.
bumping the prices up on certain things, and you also, they're coming, even though you pay a certain percentage, they're coming after us now to advertise or bump you up in there.
Yeah, they make you pay now to get bumped up, so you're featured.
So, yeah.
You know what's crazy?
I basically am like, I play the apps, and I've even told my app people that when they come in and like, why don't you do this and do that? I'm like, I want to do it my way. I want to. If it gets to the point where I'm just an app place and I'm a ghost kitchen and people probably don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Because there's no point, because they have the kitchen, the stuff on the shelves and stuff like
your
that.
Staff.
And my staff's not gonna. The staff, as much as they have a reputation for not liking people, they actually do like people here. Yeah, and COVID was rough, and there was nobody allowed in the deli.
Right.
Yeah. Customers are a very welcome life source in the ecosystem of the deli. When customers are not here, the people that are here start to do weird things or start to act in certain ways that they're not being seen and stuff like it's an ecosystem. It works. It's like I tell people that come in with like a party of like 12 people in the middle of a slammed on a Saturday, and I'm like, just order, you'll be able to sit. I don't know how it works, but it's been 18 years and I haven't had a problem yet. Right. I'm like, somehow, and then I turn around and I look, and they're like sitting all at the big table. They somehow managed to all get set at the big table or somewhere, and they're eating, and I'm like, I have no idea. I thought that was going to be the first time where I was going to be a liar, but it just works. It's like an ecosystem in here, it kind of works. I don't know why. Yeah, it does.
Well, the crazy thing about the apps is I feel like the people that made the most money on the apps were the people who made upstart apps when it started and got bought out because they were consolidating. Like, I remember the guys in Lafayette made Waiter, and Waiter was the competitor, and then they got bought out, and they were like, thanks for the money, and just exited the market. And now they're all consolidated. To your point, it's like, it's a lot like Uber and taxis. Uber was like very, very aggressive with the taxis. They've taken over the market, and then I have people who go, God, the surge pricing is $40 to go 2 feet, and it's like, that's the way it works. Once all the competition is eliminated and you control the market, you just set the fuck you want. You'd be like, it's $20 to go 2 feet. But it is interesting hearing how you navigate the app environment, because for those people who are ordering, at the end of the
day, what I have over is this stuff. Yeah. This stuff.
Right.
Bocados wouldn't be the same on the apps.
No.
You go to Bocados because you want to go to Bocados. Right. You want to see the little girl stuff in your stuff. You want to go there for the ambiance. You go to Stein's.
What unholy person orders Bocados on a
No, they don't. They're not on the apps.
Good, because that'd be fucking weird.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
that would be weird as shit.
You have to create a place that people want to visit every once in a while. But the way that the market works now, you also, when you're slow, you because you need volume, and because there people just don't want to leave their houses and stuff like that, and you have to figure out you have to get that business, and it kind of sucks, but it's I've talked about this with with Dan Fox and hashed it out, and this is the way I play the game. I mean, I've always dealt with whatever economic forces come at me, and it's like you can fight it for so long, but ultimately you just figure out how you're rolling it, and you fight to the roll. You do what it is, and I can either give into the apps, which I don't want to do, or I can zig a little bit and create a place that's still inviting to people, maybe not everybody, but still inviting to people that they walk in the door, and that's ultimately the zig, and that's ultimately because those are the people that come in and tip and buy other things, and that's how you're able to accommodate that. I read an article. It was in Temple University did this article, and I was like, oh, it's on business, I better read it. Temple University, my alma mater, and it was about, and it said like, studies show that, the first part was not their study. It was like, right, if people order at a kiosk, they tend to order more than if they order in front of a person. So I'm like, great, this is a way of trying to get rid of front-end people to just order on kiosks, or we'll just order on our phones.
Well, yeah, that's like the psychology, because you feel like you're not paying when you like tap your phone versus like you're handing over cash.
So you'll end up ordering more.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then so, businesses start saying, aha, so this is, wait, let me change my business model to this structure, where I get rid of the front end work and I do phone. And then then the next article, the Temple article was, if they feel rushed, they will order less. So that means don't put them in line in front of a kiosk, give them their own kiosks and let them order all they want. So you do this, and and I'm watching this, and I watch other businesses, sort of going in these directions. Yeah, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. No. And I'm reminded, and I remember pulling up a quote from the commissioner of baseball where he said, analytics is the arms race to nowhere. And they basically saw how analytics was fucking up the game of baseball. Now you have everybody just striking out, hitting home runs. There's no base running. There's shifts. There's nothing going on, and they basically said, if we just rely completely on analytics, we're going to, and caring about winning, we're going to this game, and they basically legislated back in those shifts and stuff like that. It's the same thing I see. Analytics is the arms race to nowhere if we follow, and that's why I said, no, I'm not going.
But Dan, I think when you come to Stein, you come in for the experience.
Well, that's right, but on that side, you have to keep on.
No, you keep on, because the thing is that like the people who successfully chase technology and analytics are like McDonald's. McDonald's is a soulless corporation that makes tremendous money by having the most efficient, almost robotic system to get that French fry and burger to your face. But that being said, that's why they're always finicking with the prices in every different market to try and make it not the least expensive option, but close to it. I will tell you as a consumer, all the restaurants I go to, if you're going to spend that money, you're going to tip that worker, you have to feel something for it. You know what I mean? Like, I like coming here. I like going to places that I frequent because I have something that makes me identify with that place. But it's like what I always see in the restaurants I don't trust is when I walked into a fucking restaurant, like a restaurant, and there was a kiosk there, I would turn around and walk the fuck out. I'd be like, a kiosk at McDonald's, when you're going to the lowest common denominator, it's fucking soulless, but you expect it at McDonald's. You expect that soulless national corporation to figure out a way to push as many people out of the system.
The key is, like, you can't just say, I don't want to do that.
Right.
There's work involved to create an experience. Or to draw people in and stuff like that. So you have to do it. I mean, you have to find stuff to put on your shelves that nobody else has that people want, so that it encourages them to make a trip, that they're not going to basically, order with an app from Rouse's,
right?
Or they're going to order from Amazon. I can tell you, people come in and are like, well, hey, wow, I was getting this from Amazon. You're cheaper. Yeah, I know I'm cheaper.
I will tell you, like,
and I'm still not that cheap. I could actually come down an extra buck or two on this, and then.
But I think sometimes, and all of us, I'll admit, when the first are guilty of it. It's like that is the crack that Jeff Bezos has people addicted to, which is he has planted this idea that you can't find anything except on Amazon. So rather than people actually take the effort to look, they just default to it. I mean, like, I will tell you, in the last, once again, my fantastic progressive slap me in the head wife, like, she really in the last year has been like, stop buying shit on Amazon. It's all here, or some version of it is here. And when you walk into a business and buy from a local business, you're helping your neighbors and your friends go along. Like, the instant gratification of doing lazy ass shit and it showing up to your door, it's literally making us worse people. Because, like, to your point, like, I think part of the reason why people suck is because we do too much to make it easy not to socialize with each other. I mean, your food gets brought to your house, your packages get brought to your house. Fuck. I look at my kids and them playing video games. I play video games too, but, like, I look at them like, I heard a joke, and I think it was from fucking John Oliver, who was like, you want to terrify a teenager? Give them a phone and say it's for you.
Wait, I was just watching that today. The TikTok video.
TikTok video.
Yeah.
Like, kids don't even fucking know how to have a conversation. It's all fucking text messages.
Well, it's not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere, right?
No, I mean, you asked me that question last week, and I might have been like, I might have been honestly like, I'm an employee in a company, and the CEO I don't like, and the upper management I don't like, and the middle manager really isn't doing anything. What am I doing?
Right.
But, and it's maybe for another podcast. But
no, I mean,
literally within the last week, I have changed the way I look at things, and, and I'm not going anywhere. I will say this, that whoever is our next mayor, him or her,
right,
they have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do because we have a lot of competition now. We used to be the Southern City. There's Charleston. There's Nashville. There's Savannah. There's Mobile. There's so many places.
There's so many fucking places
competing against us, and we're not doing.
No, we fucked up.
We're not. I don't.
No, we have. We have. Dan.
That's
we
fine.
have.
I mean, you.
No, I mean, to your point,
you're saying, I'm not going to say that I don't agree with you,
I
don't tend to be as abrasive.
I'm abrasive as shit.
Yeah, it's great.
But we got used to being the number one destination for people looking for this kind of experience, and we slept. And a lot of these different cities offer a similar experience without the same problems. And I don't mean like crime or whatever; those are problems too. But I mean like just like water working, streets being paved.
Well, I mean, they're also not going to have issues with insurance.
Yep,
they're not going to have the people who you need in this city to make it work. To ultimately do that, not just municipal workers,
right.
Your teachers,
service industry,
your musicians,
Right. They're all priced
Artists,
out. They're all priced out.
They're getting priced out because of insurance. And yeah, I mean, I rent to a teacher right now.
Right.
The rent I gave her was before my mortgage went.
Right.
I haven't moved it. She's already having problems
Just paying the old rent.
keeping up with and stuff like that. I
But-
don't know if she's
but-
gonna listen
but-
to it. She's fine. You're not going anywhere. But it's the same thing. But it's like, but I see that, and I know that I'm not the only one.
No, I mean,
I know I'm not the only landlord going through this. I'm not, and only we're thinking about this.
but I mean, to your point, Dan, I think the next mayor, and for like the 100th time, not me, but the next mayor
Fine.
has to understand people have real problems, and what they're going to demand from the next mayor in particular is two things. One, solutions, and one, a vision for where the city's supposed to fucking
There
go.
needs to be a vision.
Because, I mean, I will tell you the number one critique I had coming into this last term of this current mayor is, even if you disagree with a leader, if you know where they're leading you, you can have faith in that this is the journey we're on. What I saw when I came into this term, and it's played out this term, is there is no fucking plan. There is no path that she's taking the city on.
That was something that came out in a meeting that a bunch of us service industry people had. So the guy from the district was
Right.
the one that came out. It's like, the city doesn't seem to have a plan. It doesn't have a market. Like Las Vegas has like a marketing
Yep.
company that's, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And, that's what's going on now. In 3 years, it'll be something else. But it's like they have a plan. And
We have the resources. We have New Orleans and company, love them or hate them. We have all these things, but the problem is that like everyone has to be on the same page, pushing the city forward. And it's like, if everyone's not on the same page, I'm not talking about business, I'm talking about leadership, money, branding. If they're not all making you excited to be here, you relying upon everyone's going to the same place, and it's just chaos, it just creates this sense of uncertainty that makes it hard to want to make the roots even more in the city.
Here's another thing that might also sound kind of surreal, but I guess this is just from a business owner and stuff like that, is if part of the problem from the state is getting revenue, and we're going to be increasingly get more of our revenue from sales tax, and we have been doing from sales tax, it seems to me that besides getting sales tax from the people who live here, we're going to want to be getting sales tax from people who visit here. The premier destination of this state is
New Orleans.
Why wouldn't the state want to help us with our business?
I will tell you, and I know we're running long, but I will tell you that one of the things that I've constantly pushed both my colleagues and people on is we can't tax shit at the local level. Like as far as like taxing this or that, we can raise millages, do fines and fees. That's all we can do. There needs to be more of a push. When you go to Nashville and you rent a fucking car, when you see the level of fucking taxation on a car rental, you need to target tax where tourists are going to pay. Because the reality is most people who rent a car who are local is because your car's in a wreck and the insurance company's paying for it. Very few people regularly rent a car unless you're going somewhere. Hotel, motel. Most people, unless you're doing a staycation, aren't renting hotel rooms. Those are the areas where if you're trying to raise revenue on the margins to make things better for the city of New Orleans, that's where you have to go, because you're right. We shouldn't just keep finding new ways to tax citizens. You got to pass that. You want to go after people with disposable income.
But we have to still keep. But we also have to compete to draw them into the city.
But the thing is that there is the sales tax is brutal. The sales tax is going to be one of the most hardest things to use in marketing ourselves.
But I know it's brutal and stuff like it's. I agree
but to your point, when you do a sales tax on everyone, that is a hard sell. If you look at these competing cities, they don't tax the service industry workers. When they're going to tax, they don't start at sales tax. They start at those targeted taxes to the people that are pass-throughs. We're going in the wrong direction in that they're just raising revenue as quickly as they can from a captive audience. You have to buy bread. You got to go buy, clothes for your kids. Sales taxes are regressive because for the most part, you can't avoid them. And we're not even doing like the traditional ideal sales tax, which is like consumption tax because you're buying luxury items. They were talking this session, Dan, about going back to taxing fucking tampons. That's not optional luxury shit. That's basic human needs. But like, just this whole taxation idea is just, it boggles my mind. It frustrates me because there's a smarter way to do all this, but it's harder and requires a little more work.
By the way, we do tax our tourist customers. I just bumped up my muffaletta price from $11.99 to $13.99 because it's a tourist sandwich. After a while, if I get two people ordering a muffaletta, like I go, or first of all, there'll be one. Can we split it? Because we don't make the mangos.
Right.
So then we'll get two muffalettas. I'm like, no. You get one corned beef and pastrami sandwich and one muffaletta. We do corned beef and pastrami. We do it different. We do it really well. Muffaletta is a sandwich.
It's like diner lobster.
So I can't tell you how many people will ultimately like thank me, saying thank you for
making me
share the sandwiches. But yeah, I just bumped up my muffaletta price. I mean, that being said, there's a guy in the neighborhood, Graham, who's a tour guide down here. He's grandfathered it up the whole place.
Of course. That's awesome.
I mean, that's what you do. At the end of the day, it's what you want. When you have a place like this, you want regulars.
Yeah.
You want your regular customers. As I told somebody the other day, I was like, all the shit that went out today, what the thing that I'll remember that went out today that I was most happy about is I got that woman I got her a cup of schmaltz. All she wanted was a cup of schmaltz, and I got her a cup of schmaltz. And that's at the end of the day, that's what I want. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I'll remember from this day. But at the end of the day, that's what I'll be most.
That's what you'll remember from this day too.
It's just like that's what at the end of the day. I mean, I get all this and stuff, but I'm
That is the way to end this episode of the cup of schmaltz. That's for those dozens of people in TV and radio.
I don't have a lot of schmaltz.
No. He's not destined for schmaltz, but the point is,
we use our schmaltz, so don't
Dan Stein is here at Stein's Deli to give you a memorable experience. That is what he's here for, and that's what I'm here for.
Some days.
Dan, I've been here 3 times with you present, and every time was memorable.
Thank you.
Every time was memorable. I mean, sometimes you're like, don't order that sandwich. You want this sandwich. And I go, yes, sir. And it's a great experience. Yeah. You kind of want someone who's going to be like, I know you. You will not like that.
Right.
That's what like
I've had that done for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
One time I went out to a fine dining restaurant. I went out to Cuvée with Bob Iacovone.
Yeah.
And I ordered this, and it didn't come out something else. And then Bob said, you want this.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah, my expertise right there only relies on comic books. If you tell me what comic book you want, I'll be like, no, you don't want that. You want this instead. But if it comes to things that matter like food, I'd rely on you. But Dan, thank you so much for being our first on location AskJP episode. This has been a fantastic experience. I'm so glad you let us in your spot after hours.
No problem.
And we got to have
this is not after hours.
Okay, you know what I mean. Okay, you know what?
It's not after hours for Dan.
For old ass people with lots of kids, this is late at night after hours.
Come back at 2:00 in the morning and make me stay here for 2 hours, and then it'll be after hours.
It'll be a different conversation at that point. We won't be out of our minds.
I could probably pull it off.
All right. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you.
You're the best.
All right.
We're out.